Hello and welcome to the version 10.7 release training of the ForecastBuilder software. In this release there are several important updates, the first of which deals with the precipitation type process. If you recall, ForecastBuilder had both the probability types and the WX type grids where you could make modifications to both to change the way all things panned out, whether it's precipitation type, accumulations, and all that. Well, with this release, we're pushing all precipitation type grid modifications to one step, that being the precip type step, where we create the WX type grids. Additionally, we'd have a separate accumulation step, but that's now embedded into the precip type step, and you'll see that coming up. And just to make that an additional point, again, we would have the probability of type grids, which would influence accumulation ratios, and then you'd have the WX type grids that would only influence the weather grid. Well, these changes in this release make it so that the weather type grids also impact accumulation ratios. For specifically the mountain offices, they've been dealing with using the snow level, deterministic snow level as a precipitation type approach. Well, in this release, we're providing the ability to use the MBM precipitation types with the snow level percentiles as guardrails, and we'll demonstrate that coming up. We also have the ability to utilize RAP data for smoke. And then with ForecastBuilder has had a lot of extra procedures that have been installed or at least kept up to date. Well, with this release, we're removing a lot of them. Items that would have been prefixed with POT. A lot of this is in preparation for baselining of ForecastBuilder. And related to that, Matt Belk from the Norton office did a lot of help for us in moving a lot of the code to PEP8 standards. It's a design needed for baselining, and again provided other technical fixes too, which we were very thankful for. So let's first look at the precipitation type approach. Again, all the accumulation step has been merged, and you can see that in the image on the right with the accumulation there at the bottom. And you have buttons for run accumulation and also these calculate the ratio and pop if you're kind of curious to see what the ratios would be. And during the winter time when you're dealing with snow and ice and that, just hit that run accum button to create the accumulations. If you're just in, say, traditional summertime, you're not dealing with snow across the CWA, the accumulation step will run automatically and create the necessary snow and ice grids that are required for NDFD. So this new MBM precipitation type with snow level inclusion, this is really neat. Kudos to both the Salt Lake and Fort Worth offices working together here on this. So the problem that we've had in the past with snow level, while it's very easy, you can create a precipitation type based right off of that one single grid, and you'd have 800 feet below that snow level, you would get a rain snow mix and then go to all rain below that. The snow level, if it's not nailed perfectly, and I'm trying to forecast a deterministic snow level out days 4, 5, 6, 7, it seems quite difficult to do that. And even in the short term, there are some cases where that 800 feet just really doesn't work out for the mixed rain snow zone. Furthermore, if you have a freeze and rain situation where you got cold air trapped in a valley, for example, again, snow level was only creating rain snow. That was it. So you wouldn't include freezing. You couldn't get freeze and rain from that. So this approach is new, where we take the MBM precipitation type, which provides that probabilistic range, looking at the ensemble data, what are the range of potential outcomes, and then we utilize these, what we call them, the 10th and 75th snow level percentiles that the MBM has, and those set your bounds for the minimum snow elevation and the maximum rain elevation. And you could adjust these based on your on the situation. So, for example, if in the short term you saw, hey, the MBM's too warm, and we're getting snow at lower elevations, just reduce the max rain elevation value, and boom, you have more snow in the grids. And the accumulation, of course, automatically updates as part of the run accumulation button. So back with version 10.6 of ForecastBuilder, we had created, we provided the ability to create WBGT, or wet bulb black globe temperature. The WBGT, there's a group that has created a separate procedure that has been fully embedded and updated here with this version 10.7 release. There are other steps required to get the WBGT working. You have to bring in some like shape files and that. And there are separate instructions provided in the ForecastBuilder documentation, and some kudos to Donald Harrigan, the Sioux in Miami, for providing that. And WBGT will get created and updated automatically as part of the integrity step. So let's talk a little bit about the future for ForecastBuilder. We're at a kind of important spot right now. We're gonna start working through the process of baseline in ForecastBuilder. As mentioned, some of the updates in the release are getting us towards that path. Version 11, which is slated for the fall, is going to reflect the code that does get baselined. And the baseline version, it's going to take a while to get out, because we got to get through a couple of AWIPS builds, and most importantly, the Red Hat 8 release that is accompanying 2341. But ForecastBuilder isn't going to be like one of these other like GFE procedures in that only get updated based on AWIPS build. We're going to kind of follow some of the similar process like the Tower S group does with the satellite updates. They provide a RPM that you can install, and so we're hoping just to keep that kind of concept going here, where we can do like quarterly updates as we have been doing with the ForecastBuilder software. So that ends this training. Again, if you have questions, two great places to provide, again, questions or feedback. You can either go on the virtual lab site presented there, or email the ForecastBuilder group there, nws.forecastbuilder@noaa.gov. With that, thank you.